Hello, welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, I'm Ron, and thank you for stopping by. On this channel, I do a lot of drone-related content, tutorials, tech-related news, and the occasional product review. If you've been following my channel for a while now, you know I'm starting to dabble in the world of FPV drone flying. As I'm getting further into researching this hobby, it's come to my attention that there are some items of safety that I could share with you if you're also thinking about pursuing FPV flying. I've spent many hours researching one specific topic that I felt was worth its own video. That topic is LiPo batteries. If you're not familiar with LiPo batteries for FPV, they're a little different than the LiPo intelligent flight batteries used for many of DJI's consumer drones, like the Mavic Air, which I have, and the DJI's Mavic 2 series. There's others as well. DJI's intelligent flight batteries have a computer chip in them that make charging, storage, and discharging of their batteries extremely safe. You pretty much throw the DJI batteries on the DJI charger, and if you don't use them for a few days, they'll automatically start to discharge. And if you put them on the charger, they'll automatically stop charging when they're full with its overcharge protection feature. You also have automatic balance charging on each battery cell when charging, and several other features built into these intelligent flight batteries as well. Now with standard FPV LiPo batteries, you don't have that kind of intelligence built into most of the batteries. Not all, but most. LiPos don't have computer chips built into them, or they're not considered to be what's called smart batteries. So that's what I want to talk about today. You have to be a great deal more safety conscious with the FPV LiPo batteries. If you're a parent and you're thinking about buying your teen FPV gear and batteries, or making the jump from FP to FPV like I am, there's some basic concepts you need to understand about the LiPo batteries. And this video is going to cover a lot of that information you'll want to know. So what are LiPo batteries? LiPo stands for Lithium Polymer batteries, and they've been gaining popularity in the radio control industry for several years now. Currently, they're the standard for FPV drone flying, and from everything I've seen, you'll definitely be using these batteries if you're thinking of getting into the hobby as well. To kick things off, I want to list some of the pros and cons of these batteries. First, the pros. LiPo batteries can be lighter weight. They can be made almost any size or shape as compared to other types of batteries. For their size and weight, they can have a much higher capacity, allowing them to hold much more power compared to other battery types. LiPos also have a much higher discharge rate, meaning they can pack more punch. Now the cons, they have a shorter lifespan. LiPos average only about 150 to 250 cycles compared to other battery types like nickel metal hydride, which can get about 1,000 cycle range. Also, the sensitive chemistry can lead to fires if the batteries get punctured or badly damaged. LiPos require special care for charging, discharging, and for storage. Now, LiPos can be safe, but you certainly have to follow some rules and treat them with the respect they deserve. A quick YouTube search will produce you a ton of results showing how intense a fire can be from a small LiPo battery. Because these are chemical batteries, you never want to throw water on them if they catch fire. Throwing water on a LiPo battery fire can actually make it worse, so just don't do it. If you do have a LiPo fire, they'll typically burn very hot and very fast. And if you need something to put it out, your best option would be a CO2 carbon dioxide extinguisher, as it helps remove oxygen from the air and it will cool down the battery and the surrounding areas. Now make sure you have the right fire extinguisher, as not all fire extinguishers are CO2 extinguishers. Another safety tip would be to charge your LiPos in a fire-resistant container. I recently purchased the, and I'm not sure if I'm saying this right, Ocyan, it's A-O-C-Y-A-N, Ocyan maybe, LiPo guard bag myself, which runs, they're pretty inexpensive, $14 US, and it's one of the best and safest for charging your LiPos. I'll leave a link below if you're interested in checking those bags out for yourself. This is certainly something that I'm going to be buying for charging my batteries. Now, I've actually purchased quite a few items recently pertaining to LiPo batteries and things you would need for charging. You're going to need a good LiPo charger as well. I'm buying the HobbyMate D6 Duo. Again, I'll put a link below if you want to check it out. I've spent a ton of hours researching LiPo chargers, and this is the one I'm going with. You'll find plenty of reviews out there already on YouTube if you want more information, but this is a good one for my needs. It runs about $149 US. Yeah, it's a little pricey, and it handles both AC power at 200 watt and DC power at 650 watt or 15 amp. You'll also want to pick up yourself a battery checker to check the individual cells of your LiPo batteries, again, I'll leave a link below for the one that I'm going to buy. These are cheap, running anywhere from $1 to $3, and you can actually buy them in packs if you want. I also picked up a power capacity checker as well. Again, I'm going to leave a link below if you want to check that out. As far as what I'm going to be buying, you'll want one of these to make checking your total battery percentage levels easier as well. Yep, all kinds of new things you'll want and need if you're thinking about entering the hobby. And this is all behind the scenes stuff that I really didn't give much thought to until I started digging into it. So these are things you're gonna run into yourself. Sorry, I'm getting a little bit off track, so let's get back to the actual LiPo batteries themselves. Now, all LiPo battery manufacturers are going to label their batteries a little different, but there's three main ratings you're going to want to look at. The first is the discharge, or C rating, which is simply a measure of how fast the battery can be discharged safely without harming the battery. Typically, the higher the C rating, the better. You can calculate the C rating by multiplying the capacity of the battery in amps by the C rating value. So in this example of a 1300 milliamp hour battery, it would be 1.3 amp times 120 C, which is going to give you 156 amp. 156 amp would be the maximum continuous load that the battery can handle. It's worth noting that this is in theory, and in reality, from everything I've been reading, some of the cheaper battery brands tend to overrate their battery C ratings. Sad but true, but just something to be aware of, so you may want to take the C rating with a grain of salt for lesser known manufacturers. The next is the capacity. The capacity of the battery is basically a measure of how much power the battery can hold. A unit of measure is usually in milliamp hours. So a 1300 milliamp hour equals 1.3 amps in this example. So 1000 milliamps equals 1 amp. And finally, you have a cell count, or voltage, of the battery. An individual LiPo cell has a nominal voltage of 3.7 volts. So in our example, we have a 14.8 volt battery, which means it's a 4S battery. 3.7 volts times 4 cells equals 14.8. Just add the number of cells, individual cells, together. So you have 3.7 plus 3.7 plus 3.7 plus 3.7 is going to give you the 14.8. A 4S battery is just 4 individual cells in series. So a 4-cell battery pack is going to give you the 14.8 volts. A 5-cell battery is 18.5 volts, and a 6-cell battery is 22.2 volts. Another important topic to understand is the C charge rate. In addition to the C discharge rate, the charge rate is usually much smaller than the discharge rate. The safest charge rate for your LiPo batteries is a 1C, or 1 times the capacity of the battery in amps. So again, for a 1300 milliamp capacity battery, the charge rate should be 1.3 amps. If you have a 1500 milliamp capacity battery, the charge rate would be 1.5 amps. A 1700 milliamp battery would be 1.7 amps, and so on. While it's always best to default to a 1C charge rate, always double check the battery labeling to see the maximum safe charge issued by the manufacturer. More and more manufacturers are coming out with faster charging rates. I don't want this video to run too long, but a few other important items to know are you never want to charge above 4.2 volt per cell. Again, remember you have multiple cells in series, so 4.2 volt per cell. At 4.2 volt per cell, your battery is fully charged. Additionally, LiPos should never be discharged below 3.0 volt per cell, or 12.0 volt on a 4S battery. That's 3.0 times 4 is going to give you the 12 volt. Discharging below 3.0 volt per cell could reduce the life of the battery. And if you're storage charging your LiPos, your storage volt should be 3.8 volt per cell. There's some great videos out there on the internet that explain LiPo care, charging, and storage in more detail. But if you're considering getting into the hobby, it's certainly something you want to brush up on. This video isn't intended to cover everything related to FPV and LiPo batteries. The goal here was to highlight some of the important topics you'll want to be aware of to keep everyone safe as more and more of us get into the FPV hobby. I'm hoping to have some footage up in the next few weeks, maybe a month. But I did want to give you a little background on some of the, research that you might want to do and things you might want to know as you're, introducing yourself or getting familiar with FPV flying as well. So it is something to consider. So I hope you did find this information to be helpful. I'm in the process of ordering my first FPV from a company called Rotor Riot. It's going to be the Rotor Riot HD1 build and tube bundle. And if you're interested in that build, which comes with the DJI FPV system, I'm going to leave a link to that below. You can check it out. It's currently out of stock, so I'm hoping they're going to get it back in stock soon. It's basically a bind and fly unit. It's ready to go. You just need to bind it to your goggles and your remote controller, and you're kind of off the ground and running. The thought is I'm going to learn how to actually, repair or fix. I'm sure there's going to be some crashes. Repair and fix it as I go. So I want to kind of get off the ground, hit the ground running, and as I need to repair things, I'm going to do that on a need to, as I need to. So I plan on purchasing the China Hobbyline batteries, which you see in the video here, for this build, and I'll leave a link to those below as well. Rotor Riot does recommend the China Hobbyline 4S. It's the CNHL Ministar 1300 milliamp 120C battery, which again is on the screen here for this build, and for the DJI goggles. So that's what I'm going to be getting. The batteries are in stock on Rotor Riot's website for around $24.49 US, but I also found them cheaper if I buy them direct from the Hobbyline warehouse for $17.49 currently as of this video upload. That's it. I hope you found this information to be helpful. If you did, please remember to give it a big thumbs up. It really does help support the channel. And before I go, don't forget, please like, subscribe, ring that bell for future notifications. And until next time, take care, be safe, happy flying.